Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to take a step back from all the usual paperwork and really get into the heart of the employee onboarding experience.
Right?
And we're not just talking about checklists and I-9 forms. We're pulling together what your sources say about creating, genuine engagement from day one.
That's the mission here. We're trying to get really specific to pull out the most actionable tactics. How do you bridge that gap between, let's say, the logistics getting a laptop and the culture,
That's the big question.
the feeling of belonging? It's a gap that, well, a lot of companies seem to fall into.
A lot of companies, listen to this stat from Gallup. It's pretty shocking. A staggering 88% of organizations say they don't onboard well.
88.
88%. So if you think about it, that means nearly 9 out of 10 companies are failing at the very first step.
Okay.
It's a huge missed opportunity.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it shows that so many places still see onboarding as just, an admin task,
Yeah.
not a strategic tool. Because the payoff for getting it right it's exponential. The research shows that new employees who have a positive onboarding experience are actually 18 times more committed to their employer.
18 times. That's not a small number. That's the kind of thing that should make every CEO's ears perk up.
Absolutely. And it leads right to retention. A great onboarding means 69% of those employees are still with the company 3 years later.
And in this job market, keeping people for 3 years is, well, that's the whole game right there.
That's the win.
Okay, so we've established the upside, but let's flip that around. For those companies in that 88% bracket, what does failure actually look like? What happens when you get onboarding wrong?
The consequences are immediate and they're expensive. The data is really clear on this. A negative or even just a confusing first impression literally doubles the chances that a new employee starts looking for another job.
Doubles it right away.
Immediately, sometimes within the first couple of weeks.
Wow. So you spend all that money on recruiting just to lose them?
Precisely. And that's before you even get to the other costs. You have, of course, the high cost of hiring a replacement, the drop in morale on the team they just left. But the biggest hidden cost is productivity. It's all about something called ramp time.
Okay, let's break that down for a second. What exactly is ramp time?
Ramp time is basically the period it takes for a new person to get fully up to speed.
Yeah.
To go from learning the ropes to actually being a productive member of the team.
From a net cost to a net contributor.
Exactly. And poor onboarding stretches that time out, sometimes by months. If they feel lost or unwelcome, they can't focus on learning. The sources are absolutely clear on this. Good onboarding has to be a core business objective, not just an HR function.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about shortening that ramp time and getting a return on your investment in that new hire.
That's the strategic move.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just paying a full salary for minimal output, while at the same time making this person you wanted so badly feel completely alienated.
Okay, that business case is crystal clear. So if 88% of companies are struggling, we need to know what the successful 12% are doing. Let's get into those 7 high-touch tactics that your sources kept bringing up.
Right, let's start with the most human element, social integration and comfort.
Okay.
Think about your first week at a new job. You're shy, you're confused, and you don't want to ask what you think is a stupid question. Right?
Oh, absolutely. You want to look like you know what you're doing, even when you have no clue.
Exactly. And that fear gets in the way of learning. So the solution here is the buddy system.
I've heard of this, but does it actually work?
It does, but with a key difference from how most people imagine it. It has to be a formal system. You assign an onboarding buddy for, say, the first month or two. This gives a new hire a safe person to go to with all those little questions.
A go-to person who isn't their direct manager.
Yes, that's crucial. And the sources say the buddy needs to be trained for the role and maybe even have it count towards their own performance review. It makes it a real responsibility, not just a, be nice to the new person suggestion.
So it's a real support structure. I like that. So building on that social idea, let's talk about games and activities. I have to admit, that sounds a little cheesy.
It can be, but the sources argue that a little bit of workplace fun actually makes people more effective. The example they give is a scavenger hunt.
A scavenger hunt.
Yes, but not a silly one. It's designed to introduce them to different departments, key people, even where the best coffee machine is. It forces interaction.
Okay. So it's not about finding a paperclip. It's about giving them a reason to walk over to the finance department and actually talk to someone.
Exactly. You're building bonds outside their immediate team and lowering stress at the same time. It's low-stakes socialization.
I can see that. Okay, moving on from the social side. The next tactic is about integrating the company history and culture.
Yes. This is where you build an emotional connection. If people feel like they're part of a story, they perform better. So you have to dedicate real time to the company's origin story, its struggles, its mission.
You want them to penetrate the soul of the organization, as one source put it?
That's the phrase.
Yeah.
And this isn't a PowerPoint slide with a mission statement.
Right.
It's about storytelling. Have a senior leader talk about a big failure that led to a huge success. Make it human. Make them feel like they're joining a legacy.
That emotional hook is so important. And that leads right into the next point, which is helping them envision their future in the company.
Yes, if you can't see a path forward, why would you give it your all?
True.
You have to help them see the levels they can reach.
Yeah.
And again, the best way to do this is with stories. Have leaders share their own career paths within the company, the struggles, the promotions. It gives new hires a mental roadmap. It lets them dream a little.
Okay, now let's shift to where things often fall apart. Logistics, readiness, and pace. First up, not being ready with their tools and resources.
This is such a common and such a frustrating failure. A company waits until after orientation to set up logins, get a laptop ready, things like that.
And that sends a terrible message.
A terrible one, because a passionate new hire wants to get their hands dirty right away. If they show up and can't even check their email for 2 days, they just feel like an afterthought, like the company wasn't actually preparing for them.
So the solution is an onboarding portal.
It's basically table stakes now,
Mhm.
an automated portal that's ready to go on day one with their documents, their initial tasks, their logins. It shows you're organized and you're expecting them.
It's a sign of respect, really.
Mm.
So speaking of improving, how do you know if your program is even working? That brings us to using feedback from previous batches.
You have to ask. You just have to.
Mhm.
And it has to be anonymous feedback from people who just finished the process.
Anonymity is key.
It's the only way you'll get the truth. They'll tell you what was confusing, what was a waste of time, and that's how you make the program better for the next group. It has to be a living process.
And finally, a really important one. Keep a comfortable pace.
Yes. The sources really warn against this temptation to just throw a new hire into the fire to replace someone who left.
They're trying to plug a hole, so you rush them.
You rush them, and you transfer all the organization's stress directly onto the new person. And what happens? They get overwhelmed, they burn out, and they start looking for the exit.
So a slower, more structured pace actually leads to better long-term retention.
Absolutely. It lets them actually learn and build confidence. That's what makes someone stay not stressed out, rush productivity in week one.
Okay, we have the 7 high-touch human strategies down. Now let's pivot. Because none of this happens at scale without technology. How does modern HR management actually streamline this so teams can focus on the human stuff?
This is where automation becomes your best friend. Technology is the engine that lets you do all the things we just talked about without drowning in admin work.
Right.
It's what prevents you from being in that 88%. Let's start with the core HR operations.
Okay, what are the absolute must-haves? And let's try to connect the jargon back to the new person's experience.
The foundation is an employee database, or an HRIS, a human resources information system. This isn't just a list of names. It's the single source of truth that makes sure their first paycheck is correct.
And if you mess up their first paycheck,
Oh, you've lost all the goodwill you just built, all of it. And HRIS ensures their data is right, their benefits are right, their pay is right. Trust starts there.
that makes total sense. What else is in that core bucket?
Automated workflows for the actual onboarding, offboarding process. PTO tracking so they can easily see and request time off. Basically, self-service tools that empower them and free up HR.
And then there's talent management, so getting them in the door and keeping them growing.
Exactly. The tech for this starts with an ATS, an applicant tracking system, to manage hiring. But for the new person, it's about the performance management system. This is where you set goals and create feedback loops from the very beginning.
So that envision your future part we talked about becomes real. It's not just a story, it's a plan.
It's a plan with measurable goals.
Right.
And this is where the tech really starts to support the culture we talked about.
How so?
Think about recognition and rewards platforms. If someone does a great job in their second week, you don't wait 6 months for a review. You send them digital recognition, maybe a small personalized reward, instantly.
And everyone on the team can see it.
Everyone sees it. It reinforces the right behaviors and makes the recognition timely and specific. This directly connects to that source, finding that recognition drives 12 times higher engagement.
And you can use tech like polls and surveys to get that instant feedback we mentioned earlier.
For sure. Plus, you have the employee intranet, content management for all the company knowledge. It's the whole digital backbone that makes them feel connected and informed.
And what are the results? The sources had some pretty powerful numbers on this.
The efficiency gains are huge. Good HR automation can cut the administrative time for onboarding by 60%. 60. And even more critically, it can speed up that ramp time to full productivity 3 times faster.
3 times faster. That's a direct impact on the bottom line. But this only works if all these systems talk to each other, right?
Integration is everything. It's non-negotiable. Your HR platform has to connect seamlessly to payroll, your ADP, your Workday, whatever you
Well,
use.
no mistakes with pay.
And it has to connect to your communication tools like Slack or Teams. And maybe most importantly for the new hire, to your SSO.
SSO, single sign-on, what does that mean for them on day one?
It means they get one password for everything. One login for their email, the portal, the HR system, all of it. You remove that initial frustration of trying to manage, 5 different passwords just to get started. Feels seamless.
And this is a universal strategy, it seems.
Totally universal. The sources point out that every industry faces this. Healthcare, tech, manufacturing, education. They all need this blend of high-touch connection and high-tech efficiency to get it right.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, success in onboarding is really, it's a synergy, isn't it? It's that human connection, the buddy system, the culture supported by this rock-solid technological backbone.
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
You need both, the high-touch and the high-tech.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to keep reinforcing the main point. Your onboarding process is probably the single biggest lever you can pull for engagement, for productivity, and for retention.
If you fail here, you're just leaving so much potential on the table.
You are. You're missing out on that 18 times multiplier on commitment. It's an investment that pays for itself over and over again.
Which brings us to our final thought for you to chew on. The sources tell us that recognition drives 12 times higher engagement. So the real question for your organization isn't just, did we fill out all the forms?
Right.
The question is, how quickly can our new hire move past the paperwork and start receiving and giving meaningful value and recognition? Think about that transition time in your own company, from admin to contribution.
That speed, that's what defines the entire experience. Thank you for sharing your sources for this deep dive.
We'll catch you on the next one.